Are you chasing someone who's stunning but secretly toxic? Here are 5 types of women you should never pursue, no matter how perfect they seem. Relationships can shape every aspect of your life, your happiness, your focus, even your future. But what if you're choosing the wrong kind of person? Attraction can cloud judgment, and sometimes the people we're drawn to the most are the ones who can hurt us the deepest. Today, we're diving into a hard truth. There are certain traits and behaviors you can't ignore, no matter how beautiful, exciting, or irresistible someone seems. The question is, do you know how to spot them? Imagine this. You meet someone who's captivating in every way. She's funny, confident, and draws everyone's attention the moment she walks into a room. At first, it feels like you've hit the jackpot. But soon, things start to feel off. It's subtle at first. Little disagreements spiral into massive arguments. You feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to say the wrong thing. Or worse, you find yourself constantly questioning whether you're good enough. That's the problem with the drama magnet. She thrives on chaos because, for her, peace feels boring. What starts as excitement quickly turns into exhaustion, leaving you drained and constantly on edge. The adrenaline of the highs and lows can feel addicting, but in the end it takes a toll on your mental and emotional health. Here's the thing about drama. It's often disguised as passion. You tell yourself, it's just because she cares so much, or she's been through a lot. But here's the truth. Someone who truly cares about you won't bring unnecessary chaos into your life. They won't create conflict just to get attention or make you prove your loyalty. This type of dynamic isn't love. It's a toxic cycle, and the only way to win is to walk away. Now, let's enter the next type of woman, the perpetual victim. This one can be tricky to spot because, at first, you might feel like the hero swooping in to help. She'll tell you stories about how the world has wronged her. Unfair bosses, backstabbing friends, maybe even exes who didn't treat her right. And while you might start by sympathizing with her, over time, you'll notice something strange. In her world, she's always the victim, and everyone else is the villain. It's never her fault. And when the two of you argue, you'll quickly realize that you're just another person who's done her wrong. Being with someone like this can make you doubt yourself. You start to wonder if maybe you're the problem. Her constant blaming and lack of accountability make you feel guilty, even when you've done nothing wrong. The truth is, people who refuse to take responsibility for their actions rarely change. They aren't looking for a partner, they're looking for someone to carry their baggage for them. And while you're busy trying to fix her problems, your own needs and happiness get pushed aside. Let's keep going. When you're dealing with someone who constantly plays the victim, you might feel an overwhelming urge to stay and help her. After all, it's in human nature to want to protect and support the people we care about. But here's the harsh truth. Relationships aren't supposed to feel like a full-time rescue mission. When one person continuously expects to be saved, it creates an imbalance. You start giving more than you get, emotionally and mentally, and eventually, that imbalance takes a toll on you. It's like trying to fill a bottomless cup. It's exhausting, and no matter how much you pour in, it's never enough. Now, let's move on to another type that's equally dangerous in its subtlety, the overly perfect persona. At first glance, she seems like everything you've ever wanted. She's confident, successful, and charming, and everyone around her seems to adore her. You might think, how did I get so lucky? But over time, cracks in the perfection begin to show. This is someone who has built her identity around being flawless, always saying the right thing, dressing the right way, and maintaining an image that feels untouchable. The problem with perfection is that it's often a facade. People who seem too good to be true are usually hiding something: insecurities, control issues, or even a fear of vulnerability. You'll notice this when you try to connect on a deeper level. She'll avoid tough conversations or brush off emotional moments because they don't align with the image she's crafted. And what happens when you fall short of her impossible standards? You'll feel like you're constantly being compared to some invisible benchmark that you'll never reach. Here's an example. You're out with her and everything seems great until she casually criticizes the way you dress or the way you phrased something in a conversation. It's subtle, but it stings. You brush it off at first because you think she's just trying to help you improve, but over time you realize that the criticism never stops. The truth is, her perfection comes at the cost of your self-esteem. She isn't interested in who you really are. She's more focused on how you make her look to others. Now, let's talk about why this is so dangerous. Being with someone like this can make you lose sight of your own worth. You start changing yourself to fit into her world, to meet her expectations, to keep her happy. And in doing so, you lose the parts of yourself that make you unique. A healthy relationship allows room for imperfection, for growth, and for vulnerability. If someone's perfection feels suffocating, it's a sign that the connection isn't genuine. The overly perfect persona is hard to spot because society often teaches us to admire perfection. We see it in movies, social media, and even in the way we talk about relationships. But true connection isn't about projecting an ideal. It's about being real, flaws and all. As we leave behind the overly perfect persona, it's time to highlight another type you must watch out for: the chronic flirter. This one might not seem like a big issue at first. In fact, you might even find it charming. She's outgoing, magnetic, and knows how to make people feel good about themselves. She makes you feel like you're the only person in the room when she's talking to you. But the deeper you go, the more you realize this isn't exclusive attention. It's how she treats everyone. The chronic flirter craves validation. It's like oxygen to her. Compliments, lingering glances, playful banter. It's all part of her game. You'll notice this when you're out together, and she's constantly chatting up other people in a way that makes you uncomfortable. At first, you might tell yourself, she's just being friendly. But as time goes on, you realize there's a pattern. She thrives on being the center of attention, and it doesn't stop, even when you're supposed to be the one she's focused on. The danger here is that this kind of behavior creates insecurity. You'll start questioning your place in her life. Why does she need so much attention from others if she's with you? Why does she cross boundaries that feel disrespectful to the relationship? Over time, this can lead to feelings of jealousy and resentment. And here's the kicker. When you bring it up, she might brush it off, saying you're being possessive or overreacting. But let's be clear, there's a big difference between being social and being disrespectful. A partner who values you will prioritize your feelings and understand the importance of boundaries. The chronic flirter, on the other hand, lives for the thrill of keeping options open. Even if she's in a relationship, she wants to know she's still desirable to everyone else. It's less about you and more about her need to feed her ego. Imagine this scenario. You're at a social event together, and she's laughing and leaning into every conversation with other men. At first, you try to let it slide. You don't want to seem insecure. But as the night goes on, it becomes clear that her focus isn't on you at all. You leave the event feeling unimportant, like you were just there to fill space. This dynamic isn't just hurtful, it's emotionally exhausting. The chronic flirter can make you feel like you're competing for her attention in a race you'll never win. And the worst part? It's intentional. She knows exactly what she's doing because it gives her the control and validation she craves. Relationships like this rarely end well because they're built on unstable ground. Trust becomes impossible when you're constantly questioning her loyalty. This brings us to the next type of woman you should avoid: the emotionally unavailable. If the chronic flirter leaves you questioning her focus, the emotionally unavailable woman will leave you questioning your worth. Now that we've uncovered the challenges of dealing with the chronic flirter, let's step into a more elusive danger: the emotionally unavailable woman. At first glance, this type is often the most intriguing. She's mysterious, independent, and seems to have her life together. She doesn't overwhelm you with affection, and that subtle distance can make her even more irresistible. But here's the trap. While you're investing more and more into the connection, she's pulling back or keeping you at arm's length. Emotionally unavailable women often give just enough to keep you hooked, but never enough to make you feel secure. One day she's warm and engaging, making you feel like you're finally breaking through her walls. The next day she's distant, avoiding meaningful conversations or acting indifferent. This push and pull dynamic creates a cycle of longing where you're constantly trying to decode her feelings and figure out what she wants. It's like chasing a mirage. No matter how close you think you are, it's always just out of reach. Why does this happen? Emotional unavailability often stems from fear of intimacy, fear of vulnerability, or fear of getting hurt. She might not even realize she's doing it, but her walls are so high that genuine connection becomes impossible. You'll notice her deflecting serious topics, avoiding labels in the relationship, or shutting down when things get too close. It's not that she doesn't feel anything, it's that she refuses to let those feelings grow. The most dangerous part of being with someone emotionally unavailable is the effect it has on your self-esteem. You start blaming yourself for her detachment. You think, maybe I'm not doing enough to make her open up. Or, if I can just show her how much I care, she'll change. But the harsh truth is, it's not about you. No matter how much you give, you can't fix what she doesn't want to address. Imagine being in a relationship where every step forward feels like taking 2 steps back. You share something vulnerable, hoping to deepen the bond, but she responds with silence or changes the subject. Over time, you'll feel like you're the only one putting in the effort, carrying the emotional weight of the relationship. That's not love. It's emotional exhaustion disguised as hope. Here's an example. You plan a romantic evening to talk about your future together, but she sidesteps the conversation with vague answers or jokes. You brush it off, thinking she needs more time. But months pass, and you realize every attempt to move forward is met with the same resistance. It's not about needing more time, it's about an inability to connect on the level you deserve. Emotional unavailability doesn't just stall a relationship, it slowly erodes it. No matter how strong your feelings are, a one-sided connection will never fulfill you. The longer you stay, the more you lose sight of your own needs and value. Finally, let's address the underlying question: why do we fall for these types in the first place? So why do we find ourselves drawn to these types of women despite the warning signs? It's not because we're blind or foolish, it's because human attraction is often driven by deeper psychological forces. We're wired to seek out novelty, excitement, and challenge. These women often represent just that. The drama magnet keeps life unpredictable. The victim pulls at your empathy. The perfect persona offers an idealized fantasy. The chronic flirter triggers competition, and the emotionally unavailable woman fuels the thrill of pursuit. These dynamics activate a part of our brains that thrives on solving puzzles and overcoming obstacles. It feels rewarding to win someone over, to prove ourselves, or to fix a broken relationship. But the truth is, love isn't supposed to be a constant uphill battle. When we chase these types of women, we're not just fighting for the relationship, we're often battling our own insecurities, hoping that if we can make it work, it will validate our worth. Here's a harsh but necessary truth. Sometimes, the reason we ignore red flags is because we don't want to face our own. For example, if you grew up in an environment where love felt conditional or chaotic, you might unconsciously gravitate toward relationships that mirror that instability. It feels familiar, even if it's unhealthy. Or maybe you've been taught to believe that love requires sacrifice, so you stay in situations that drain you, thinking that's just part of the process. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking them. It's not about blaming yourself or others. It's about understanding what drives your choices so you can make better ones in the future. The right partner won't make you question your worth, drain your energy, or keep you in a constant state of doubt. They'll bring peace, security, and mutual respect to the table. So, what should you do if you realize you're already involved with one of these types? The answer isn't always simple, but it starts with setting boundaries. Boundaries aren't about controlling the other person. They're about protecting your own well-being. If someone's behavior is consistently hurting you or making you feel less than you deserve, it's okay to walk away. In fact, it's necessary. Leaving isn't easy, especially when emotions are involved, but staying in a toxic dynamic out of fear, hope, or habit only prolongs the pain. Remember, you're not just leaving behind the negativity, you're creating space for something better. Healthy relationships do exist, but you'll only find them when you let go of the ones that aren't serving you. In the end, it all comes down to this. You can't control who someone is, but you can control who you choose to keep in your life. Attraction is powerful, but it's not enough to sustain a relationship. The next time you find yourself drawn to someone, ask yourself, do they bring value to my life, or are they just filling a void? The answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know. If you're ready to take control of your love life, hit subscribe and check out the next video for even more insights on building healthy, fulfilling relationships.